All right, so I had the pleasure of sitting here with Manuel from Zeal and Ardor here at the 2019, I want to keep calling it Rock on the Range, but it is Sonic Temple Festival. You were the first interview, so you were kicking things off for us here. I'm going to kind of just get right into it. I'm not going to throw softball questions out. I usually like to do long-form interviews, so I'm going to act like we've been talking for 15, 20 minutes already. Something, I've kind of heard you say over a few interviews is that in your approach to writing music, it's kind of the not giving a shit aspect of like overthinking, overanalyzing, and just kind of being present in whatever you're creating. And it kind of has made me wonder, with the success of Devil Is Fine and now Stranger Fruit, do you worry that more expectation will change that approach?
I think that's inevitable. I like to tell myself that I'm trying to, forget what other people say, but I mean, as soon as you're creating something, you're gonna think about other people's opinions, if you like it or not. But I think, for me, the right thing to do is to kind of mute that out as far as possible and see where that takes me.
Have you already started, I know Stranger Fruit hasn't been out it's not like 2 years old or anything, but in the day and age now of everyone needing the next thing, are you already kind of writing new stuff? Are you always writing and then kind of seeing where an album kind of is leading you? Okay, I have 7 or 8 songs, but really only 3 of these are really kind of connecting with me, and that's the new route where I think we're going to go on for a new record. Do you constantly write like that?
That's pretty much it. As soon as I'm home, I always write because I don't have another life, and I just kind of see what sticks to the wall and maybe, what actually might inspire other songs. But right now, I'm still at the throwing shit at the wall stage. Yeah.
So something that I found interesting, and I wanted to broach the topic, but I didn't necessarily know how because it made me feel a little nervous, given the context and the weight of everything. But I think that's kind of excites me because I think that leads to interesting conversations. Metal as a whole is kind of more of a predominantly white subculture of between the musicians who play it, the fans that go to it, and so forth. And what's interesting to me is there are numerous examples of those basically being our norms, but that you kind of yourself buck most of the norms in the music in the way that it's presented, and you by playing it. Have you kind of encountered any? Do you feel like you've had to overcome more obstacles?
I think pretty much the opposite is there's something to be said about affirmative action, and I think we've also profited of that because we are in a way a novelty or even a gimmick band, okay. if you want to be very strict about it, and that has actually helped us. So I think in a perfect world I wouldn't be playing here because
well, it's one of those that when I kind of was thinking about it, it's talking to a band like Hands Like Houses or King Parrot or something like that, where it's they're from Australia and they geographically have obstacles to overcome with getting visas and so forth, that I didn't know if maybe that also attributed to some of the obstacles you would have to crossing over here to American fans or fans in general that aren't maybe as adventurous as where you are, and understanding of just the crossing of many genres to create something new.
I think luckily, thanks to the internet age and the internet 3.0 buzzword, what the fuck is that?
I have no idea. Is
that a parrot? I was hoping to see an exotic bird then. That didn't happen.
Not yet.
Yeah, not yet. We also have to get the visas, which is a pain in the butt. But I think the way music is consumed and shared is really helpful. People like the weird stuff.
Right. Do you feel it? Not. It's kind of weird because it's I'm in my mid-30s, so I remember the internet before it existed and the way that it does, where it has allowed us to connect to so much, but also been very diversive in I only like these things, so I'm going to cater my social experiences to what I like, and anything else can just kind of get fucked. It's one of those that it makes me wonder if you not living in the States where everything kind of is a trend, oh, here's the trend, follow this trend. Every band, you want to have a successful path, just whatever this thing is, carbon copy that, and hopefully you'll be better than most to rise to the top. So it kind of makes me wonder if you even geographically feel like that's kind of given you a different take on heavy music and the music you're making because you're not inundated maybe with all the bullshit we do here.
It might have. I grew up going to squat shows and hardcore, crusty, gross stuff. And that is very much I don't give a shit
tying back in. Yeah.
It's gross at times, but I mean, it's doing what it wants to do.
Something that I kind of had found interesting, and themes are really interesting to me when looking at music, from a lyrical presentation to the visual representation of the music and how it's displayed. And what kind of struck me about your record, especially, back with Devil Is Fine, when I first heard that, was, you've made no bones that you kind of deal with satanic imagery and some of the things associated with that. More of the, I always mispronounce it, the Levanian? Is that how you say it? Levan? Okay, thank you. But given the fact that you kind of also use African American spirituals and stuff like that, when I kind of was looking at everything from afar and kind of seeing what is Zeal and Ardor? How do things? Because it doesn't seem like you do anything just haphazardly. It seems like everything's there for a reason. And maybe I'm overlooking.
I try to do that as much as possible.
Okay.
Yeah.
So even in the name, something I kind of latched onto is the fact that the names basically mean almost the same thing. And it kind of made me wonder, with kind of the juxtaposition of the duality of the two genres you're kind of mixing, along with a lot of everything else, if maybe you're kind of saying as a whole that there's more parallels between these two that most people probably wouldn't assume.
Yeah, I think that's also what attracted me to the idea and what made me pursue this weird project. And the name is telling. It's Zeal and Ardor, like Z and A, but it's basically the same meaning.
Yeah, it was like something enthusiasm or being enthusiastic about the thing you're doing, I think is what I'd read. Yeah. So it's one of those that I don't know if anyone's, like I said, gone down that road, but it's, for me, one, when I look up stuff, I'm like, okay, let's take in all the information you've given me and try to see if there's something, a bigger scale that you're going for, because I feel like it's easy just to shortchange it and be like, oh, cool, devil music.
Sure, yeah. I mean, and if you do, fine.
Yeah.
I'm kind of, I wouldn't say manic, but I get really involved in stuff I enjoy, and I like to see and dig and find interesting stuff. And for people who enjoy the same, I hit those dumb things.
I kind of wanted to. I mean, with this Lords of Chaos movie coming out, and recently, I don't remember the band, and I don't really want to give too much credence to what they did, but have you ever been worried about being unfairly judged based on the content of what you want to make for your art?
I mean, I wouldn't say unfairly. I mean, I know full and well what I'm doing, and that being said, Satanism and satanic imagery does not really pack any weight anymore. This has been done and done well prior to my existence.
I guess it's been interesting seeing now I think officially in the United States we have officially, I just said that already, accepted Satanism as a organized form of religion. And I think we have a couple of churches. I know in Detroit, because I'm from Michigan, we had the Baphomet statue that got erected and stuff, and seeing what controversy it's caused. And so it's as someone who is finding ways to make your own art from those inspiration and those sources, it just kind of makes me wonder if you've experienced any of that backlash as well.
No. Also, we're from Switzerland, and that's a fairly secular part of the world, so they don't tend not to give a shit. But yeah, as I said, I think we're not on the radar. People wouldn't really go heckle our stuff because they just don't know about us.
I'll cut this part out. I don't know how long I was supposed to have you for, but I think about 10 minutes, which is about where we're at. Okay. Is that fine? Okay. No one had told me anything, so I'm just okay, 10 minutes. Okay. So I know you're kind of getting ready to do this upcoming tour with Behemoth, and it seems like a lot of fans are really wanting that tour to come here to the States. Does it feel getting to be on something like Sonic Temple, which is, I think, one of the bigger rock festivals here, or metal festivals here in the States, is it nice to feel because like I said earlier, it's hard geographically to kind of get over here with visas and make money and all that and tour. So does it feel good to kind of be on some of these tours where bands are fuck, I wish that was coming here, and kind of maybe labels and people are going to look at that and go okay, maybe we need to bring you guys all this package here and kind of do an American leg or something? It
is enticing, but I mean, primarily just that we can do this. We really like Behemoth's music, and we believe that the lineup is nice. that's actually everything that matters. If people want to book us, sure, we're not going to be angry about it, but that's not the goal.
What has been the most surprising thing about your career so far?
Of the tour?
Your career.
That it happened?
Is there a moment like where, because something I've been finding fun to ask is because it's, you know, when you're so immersed in it, you maybe don't see it, the thing when it's happening. But I always love asking, and kind of my last question is, has there been a moment where you're like, holy shit, this thing is like, it's happening. Like there's something happening here with this, what I'm doing. Have you had that moment yet?
Yeah. That was like pretty much in the early stages, but when Rolling Stone wrote about it, and that's what, like, I just put out like an EP shittily on Bandcamp.
Right.
That was the moment where I thought, this is far more attention than necessary. And yeah, we took it from there.
Other than the Behemoth tour, what does the rest of 2019 hold for you?
Just a lot of festivals in Europe and a couple of club shows. I think we might be going to Brazil.
Okay.
But that's kind of hush-hush, so...
And lastly, who are you looking forward to seeing at this festival?
I've never seen System of a Down live. That ought to be good. The Fever are playing at the same time as us, which is kind of dumb. And never seen Ghost. That might be silly, but might be fun.
This is, I feel like, a way to maybe have bands come and see you, and maybe we'll start seeing some interesting opening opportunities for you, touring-wise.
I would not mind that.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for your time, and look forward to seeing your set tonight.